August 20th, 1944. Iwo Jima Air Base. 10:42 a.m. Heat rises off the runway in shimmering waves. The volcanic dust clings to everything, from fuel drums to flight goggles. A line of Mitsubishi A6M0 fighters sits under the harsh Pacific sun, their engines ticking with leftover warmth from morning patrols. Saburō Sakai stands beside his aircraft, helmet under his arm, grinning as two young pilots gather around him. The ace has survived more battles than most men on the island combined. His legend grows with every sortie. One pilot, barely old enough to shave, asks nervously, "Lieutenant Sakai, sir, have you heard about the new American bomber, the one they say flies above 30,000 feet? Sakai snorts. "That clumsy giant. The Americans build big machines because they cannot build good ones." The pilots laugh. Sakai continues, adjusting his gloves with casual confidence. "They call it the Superfortress, a name so heavy it must fall out of the sky." The laughter grows. He points to their zeros. Speed, agility, a pilot's instinct. These win battles, not oversized metal whales. The young pilots nod, inspired. Sakai climbs onto the wing of his Zero, the sunlight gleaming off the plane's smooth aluminum skin. He adds one more line, spoken with the arrogance of a man undefeated. "If the Americans send it here, I will show them how quickly a whale sinks." The joke lands perfectly. The pilots laugh again. But Sakai does not know something. No one on the island does. High above them, beyond the reach of every Japanese aircraft, something enormous is already approaching. A shape that glints like silver against the blue. A machine that is not clumsy at all. A machine built for one purpose: to rewrite the balance of the Pacific. The first hint of trouble. An air raid siren blares across Iwo Jima. Sakai pauses, one foot still on the wing. Pilots and crewmen look up as the distinct, slow drone of heavy engines rolls over the island like distant thunder. Not the high-pitched hum of a squadron, not the sharp buzz of fighters. This sound is deeper, heavier. A shadow passes across the runway. Crewmen shield their eyes. One whispers, "What is that?" Another answers, "It is too high. Nothing flies that high." Sakai squints toward the sky. At first he sees only clouds, sunlight, and a shimmering haze. Then the shape emerges. Long wings. 4 massive engines. A silver belly glowing in the sun. A bomber the size of a small ship. And it is flying higher than any Japanese aircraft can reach. Sakai's breath catches. "That must be it," he mutters. The Superfortress. Seconds later, the Earth moves. The B-29 opens its bomb bay doors. A series of dark shapes fall from the belly of the giant. Japanese airmen start shouting. "Scatter! Take cover! Get down!" Sakai leaps from the wing, hitting the ground hard as he dives for shelter. The first bombs hit the far end of the base. A white flash. A shockwave. A rising plume of black volcanic dust. The ground shakes beneath him. Fuel drums explode one by one, sending fire leaping into the sky. Pilots crawl behind sandbags. Mechanics scramble under aircraft. Smoke blinds the runway. Sakai lifts his head, coughing. Through the smoke, he sees the silver shape continuing forward, calm and steady, as if the explosions beneath it mean nothing. A machine that is stronger than his words. Higher than he expected. Faster than he imagined. He whispers to himself, "This is no clumsy bomber." The B-29 climbs even higher, vanishing into the haze as Japanese crews struggle to breathe under the smoke-filled sky. Sakai grips the volcanic soil, jaw tightening. He has just seen something he cannot laugh at, something he cannot dismiss. And deep inside, a realization forms. The next time he meets that machine, it will not be from the ground. It will be in the air. And he does not know if he will survive it. Smoke still hangs over Iwo Jima like a dark curtain as the ground crews race to clear the runway. The air tastes of burning fuel and volcanic dust. Mechanics drag damaged fighters away while officers shout orders through the chaos. Saburō Sakai stands beside his Zero, helmet now fastened, eyes still fixed on the direction the B-29 disappeared. The young pilot from earlier approaches him, wide-eyed. "Lieutenant, what did we just see?" Sakai wipes soot from his cheek. "A bomber that should not exist." The pilot swallows. "They say it flies higher than 30,000 feet, higher than we can reach." Sakai snaps back. "There is no such thing as unreachable." But even as he says it, doubt flickers across his face. He climbs into the cockpit, sliding the canopy shut with a metallic click. A radio officer rushes up to him. New orders from headquarters. Enemy bomber heading toward the mainland. Interception attempt required. Sakai stares at him for a long, cold second. "You want us to chase that?" "It is all we can do." The officer replies, voice trembling. Sakai gives a slow, firm nod. "Then I will chase it." The struggle for altitude. Moments later, his Zero rockets down the runway and lifts into the sky. The air is thin, violent, unstable. Volcanic crosswinds jolt the wings. Sakai pulls the stick back, forcing the fighter higher. 10,000 feet. 15,000. 20. The cockpit grows colder. The engine begins to strain. Frost forms on the inside of his canopy. His breathing becomes shallow. "Come on," he murmurs. "Climb!" But the Zero was built for speed and maneuverability, not for altitude. At 25,000 feet, the aircraft begins to shudder. Oil pressure dips. The propeller RPM trembles. His gloved hand tightens on the throttle. "Don't you dare fail me now." The sky grows paler. The ocean below shrinks to a thin blue line. Clouds thin out until only icy mist surrounds him. Sakai looks upward. He still cannot see the bomber. Not even a shadow, a voice on the radio. Crackling through static, another pilot's voice breaks through. "This is Takeda. I am at maximum altitude. No visual on the target." Sakai replies. "Keep climbing. It cannot be far." Takeda sounds desperate. "My engine is choking. I can't get more height." Sakai glances at his own gauges. They hover dangerously at the edge of red. "We continue," he says. But then Takeda's voice cracks sharply. "There? I see it." Sakai's pulse quickens. "Where?" "Directly above. But sir, it is still climbing." Sakai's stomach sinks. "How high?" "Too high," Takeda whispers. "Impossible high." A burst of static cuts him off. Sakai's mind races. He pushes the throttle forward, hoping for a miracle. His Zero trembles violently. At 27,000 feet, the fighter feels like it's suffocating. The controls twitch. The engine sputters. Warning lights glow faintly. Sakai grits his teeth. Just a little more. Then he sees it. A flicker of silver above the haze. Barely a dot. Barely a shape. But unmistakable. A B-29 Superfortress. Massive wings. 4 glowing engines. Sunlight reflecting off polished aluminum. It hangs in the sky like a mountain made of steel. Sakai gasps. It is enormous. And then something else hits him. The bomber is still out of reach. He pushes the throttle again, but the Zero shakes so violently that he nearly loses control. His altimeter refuses to climb. The aircraft is at its ceiling. There is no more air to lift it. No more power to climb. The Superfortress, however, continues smoothly upward. Sakai watches it with a mix of rage and awe. This machine breaks every rule. The first warning shot. A burst of light flashes from the B-29's tail. Tracers streak past Sakai's canopy. He jerks the stick instinctively. Impossible. They can fire at this altitude. Another burst. Closer this time. The bomber's tail gunner has seen him. Sakai dives slightly, avoiding the stream of bullets. His heart pounds. The B-29 is not just high, not just fast, not just monstrous. It is armed like a flying fortress. Sakai regains control and tries to climb back toward it, But the Zero refuses to obey. The bomber is drifting farther away. Higher. Stronger. Sakai tightens his jaw, whispering through clenched teeth. You are not supposed to exist. But the B-29 does exist. And it is heading straight toward Japan. Sakai realizes something with chilling clarity. This was only a warning. A demonstration. The next time they meet, the bomber will not pass overhead. The next time, it will strike the heart of the homeland. And every Japanese pilot will be asked the same question. How do you fight something you cannot reach? Sakai returns to base long after the B-29 has vanished beyond the curve of the Earth. His Zero sputters onto the runway, engine coughing from the brutal climb, wings trembling from the strain. Mechanics rush toward the aircraft as he shuts the engine down. One looks at the damage and mutters, "You nearly tore this plane apart." Sakai climbs out slowly. His legs shake. His flight suit is stiff with frost. For once, he has no joke, no confident smirk, no swagger. He simply whispers, "It flew higher than we can dream." Around him, pilots whisper nervously about what they saw or heard. Some laugh nervously. Others stare at the sky with quiet fear. The B-29's shadow still lingers above them, even though it is long gone. A senior officer approaches Sakai. "Lieutenant, what is your assessment?" Sakai looks at him. His face is stone. It is not a bomber, it is a sky fortress, and if more of them come, there is nothing on this island that can stop them. The officer stiffens. "That is unacceptable. We must stop them." Sakai shakes his head. "You cannot stop what you cannot reach." But Japan is about to try anyway. Several weeks later, mainland Japan. November 24th, 1944. Tokyo. 7 a.m. The city is just waking up. Smoke from breakfast fires curls upward. Street vendors set out baskets of fish. Children hurry past military checkpoints. A cold wind blows across rooftops and wooden homes. Then, a sound emerges. A deep hum from far above the clouds. People pause. They look up. Japanese spotters shout. High-altitude contacts, many aircraft, heading for the city. Officers rush to telephones. Alarms shriek across Tokyo. Pilots scramble toward their Zeros and Ki-43 Oscars. But the observers already know something is wrong. The bombers are too high. Too fast. Too steady. Civilians point upward, squinting at the shimmering sky. What is that? Birds? No, silver, many of them. The first shadow appears through the clouds. A B-29. Then another. Then a formation. 20. 30. More. Their wings glint like knives in the sun. Their size dwarfs anything Japan has ever faced. Sakai, stationed temporarily on the mainland, sees them from a distant airbase. He is preparing for takeoff when he hears the spotter's voice. Superfortresses, inbound on Tokyo. His blood runs cold. Tokyo, under the giant's shadow. The B-29 formation opens its bomb bay doors. From the ground, the people below see dozens of dark shapes falling. Slow at first. Then faster. Then screaming downward like iron comets. Bombs begin to hit the city. Shockwaves roll across neighborhoods. Glass shatters. Buildings tremble. Smoke rises in massive black columns. Fire spreads across wooden districts faster than anyone can react. People run in every direction. The sky darkens with soot. The B-29s keep flying, calm and steady, like gods walking across the sky. From the airbase, Sakai watches the distant plumes rising over Tokyo. He grips his helmet tightly. They are killing the city from a place we cannot touch. Scramble to meet the giants. A siren blares across his airfield. Pilots, scramble, engage enemy bombers. Sakai rushes to his Zero. He leaps into the cockpit. The engine roars to life. He takes off with a squadron of fighters behind him, heading toward the rising smoke columns. The sun is bright. The air seems calm, but the radio crackles with panicked voices. Target altitude too high. Climb rates insufficient. Cannot reach attack altitude. They are out of range of our guns. Sakai keeps pushing. He climbs relentlessly. 15,000 feet. 20. 25. But he is still thousands of feet below the B-29 formation. He finally sees them above the haze. A shimmering line of silver giants. Bombs falling in slow trails behind them. He whispers to himself in disbelief. They are not bombers, they are moving fortresses, the desperate vertical chase. Sakai pulls the stick back, trying to reach firing distance. His Zero shudders violently. The engine sputters. He trims his controls and squeezes out every bit of performance the aircraft has. But the air is too thin. The machine too light. The bomber too high. He watches in frustration as the B-29s continue forward, untouched by Japanese fighters, like ghosts passing overhead. One B-29 tail gunner spots the struggling Zeros below and opens fire. A stream of tracers arcs downward. Sakai jerks the stick. Bullets tear through the air around him. This cannot be real, he mutters. He knows now what Japan faces. A machine with range, altitude, armor, and firepower beyond anything their current technology can match. A machine not built to be chased, only feared. The moment Japan realizes the truth, the B-29s drop their final payload and turn for the sea. Sakai reaches their altitude too late. By the time he climbs, the bombers are already silhouettes in the distance. He levels his plane and watches them go. A line of giants retreating calmly, leaving behind a burning city. He whispers into the frozen cockpit air. This is the enemy that will end us. And deep inside, beneath his pride, beneath his training, beneath his legend, Saburō Sakai feels something he has never felt before. Not fear of death, not fear of combat, but fear of a machine. A machine that laughs at altitude. A machine that shrugs off bullets. A machine that rewrites the rules of war simply by existing. The B-29 Superfortress. A bomber Japan had mocked as clumsy. Now a bomber Japan would give anything to destroy. The next morning, as Tokyo smolders under a grey blanket of ash, the B-29 formation cruises back toward its island base. The Pacific stretches endlessly beneath them, shimmering and peaceful, a stark contrast to the inferno the bombers left behind. Inside the lead B-29, the atmosphere is controlled, professional, almost calm. The crew moves with quiet confidence. They know what they just accomplished. They know Japan could barely touch them. Captain Robert Green, the aircraft commander, scans the horizon from the cockpit. His voice is relaxed. Wind steady, formation intact, all engines normal. Beside him, the co-pilot notes fuel levels, adjusting mixture controls with small, precise movements. Behind them, the navigator traces their return course on a chart, while the radio operator deciphers coded transmissions from the fleet. The B-29 hums steadily, 4 giant engines beating like the heart of a living creature. But the most striking figure in the aircraft sits in the tail gunner. Private Owen Hale. Young, calm, staring through his gun sight at the empty sky behind them. He saw Sakai's Zero climbing desperately hours earlier. He saw it struggling far below. He shakes his head now, still thinking about it. They just can't reach us, he murmurs. A crewman nearby hears him. We're too high. Hale nods. Yeah, not just high. We're flying in a different world. Why the B-29 was untouchable. Green, the commander, thinks the same thing as he watches the altimeter. 31,000 feet. The air outside is deadly cold. Breathing here without pressure suits would kill a man in minutes. But the B-29 is built for this. Pressurized cabin. Massive wings. Supercharged engines. Armored gun stations. Remote-controlled turrets. Every feature is over-engineered. Green runs a hand along the metal by his seat. This ship is a fortress. They named it right. The co-pilot smirks. Poor guys down there thought we were another B-17. Green shakes his head. Number the B-17 fought for its place in the sky. The B-29 owns the sky. Even inside the aircraft, the men know this truth. They are flying a weapon years ahead of its time. A weapon built with the entire industrial power of America behind it. The kind of weapon that changes wars. Meanwhile, back on the ground in Japan, Saburō Sakai stands on the tarmac of the mainland base, staring at a burned B-29 fragment recovered outside the city. A piece of fuselage, just a fragment of polished aluminum. And even that stump of metal feels stronger than his entire aircraft. He runs his fingers over it, feeling the thickness, the weight. A mechanic approaches him. Lieutenant Sakai, we cannot reach them. Our planes stall too early. Sakai doesn't answer. His silence is answer enough. The mechanic lowers his voice. They say the Americans are building hundreds more. Sakai looks toward the horizon, where the morning sun begins to rise. Then Japan will burn. The orders that shock Japan. Hours later, Sakai is summoned to the command bunker. Inside, officers stand around a map of the home islands. Red pins mark the cities. Blue lines mark flight paths. Every officer's face is pale. The commander turns to Sakai. You have seen the enemy. You chased them. Tell us everything. Sakai takes a slow breath. He looks at the map, then at the men. Finally, he says, You cannot intercept these bombers with our current aircraft. They fly too high. They fly too long. They defend themselves too well. Silence spreads through the bunker. The commander leans forward. Then how do we stop them? Sakai closes his eyes for a moment. There is only one way. The room tenses. We must catch them when they descend. When they approach for bombing, we must attack from above or from the side, not from behind. An officer protests. That is nearly impossible. Sakai replies softly. So is surviving their bombs. He steps back from the table, but understand this. Even if we attack perfectly, many will die. The B-29 is not a bomber. It is a machine built to end wars. The bunker falls silent. No one dares speak after that. But Japan won't give up. Within days, workshops begin modifying fighters. Some get stripped of armor. Others receive more powerful engines. Engineers attempt to create high-altitude interceptors. Pilots train to climb faster, dive steeper, fight in thin air. Japan will not surrender the sky without a fight. Sakai becomes the center of new strategy sessions. His experience, his instincts, his legendary skill. Japan needs all of it. He stands beside a chalkboard, sketching angles of attack, explaining how to avoid the B-29's devastating tail guns. We strike from above, we strike fast, we do not chase. Young pilots take notes feverishly. They look at Sakai with awe. They don't know the truth he hides inside. He is no longer sure they can win. But he will not show fear. Not to them. Not while Tokyo smokes in the distance. Japan prepares for the next encounter. High above the Pacific, the B-29s return to base unchallenged. Their mission complete. Their confidence rising. Back in Japan, pilots sleep uneasily, knowing the giants will be back. Sakai sits alone near his Zero, staring into the night sky. He whispers, I mocked you once. That was a mistake. He tightens his gloves. The next time we meet, I will come for you. But even he knows the odds. The next battle will not be equal. It will be desperate. And the sky itself will decide who survives. December 13th, 1944. Mainland Japan. 5:42 a.m. Frost coats the runway as the first hints of dawn stretch across the sky. Pilots gather in the cold, breath steaming like smoke. Engines warm in the darkness, each cough of ignition echoing through the airfield. Sakai stands alone beside his Zero, helmet under his arm, face calm but eyes burning with determination. Today, they expect the B-29s again. And today, Japan will try something new. A young pilot approaches him. Lieutenant Sakai, sir, will the new tactics work? Sakai tightens his gloves. They must. But inside, he is uncertain. No amount of training changes the laws of physics. The Zero simply isn't meant to fight in the upper atmosphere. Still, he will try. The warning sirens blare across the base. Enemy aircraft approaching Tokyo, high altitude, multiple formations. Sakai climbs into his cockpit. The canopy slams shut. The engine roars. He pushes the throttle forward. The Zero leaps from the runway and slices into the morning sky. The climb toward the giants. This time, Sakai climbs differently. No long, slow ascent. He angles upward sharply, forcing the Zero into a punishing climb that uses gravity and momentum to gain altitude faster than usual. He is not chasing the B-29s. He is trying to meet them head-on. Other Japanese fighters follow him, forming a loose spear aimed at the heavens. 20,000 feet. 25. 28. Engines strain. Oil temperatures flicker. The air grows thin and hostile. Sakai's breath freezes on the inside of his mask. Still he climbs. 30,000 feet. The Zero shudders, wings vibrating like they might snap off. He checks the sky. At first, he sees nothing. Then, flashing sunlight. He opens his canopy slightly to clear the frost. And there they are, a formation of B-29 Superfortresses emerging from the clouds above him. Huge. Silent. Majestic. Deadly. Their wings catch the rising sun and gleam like blades of silver. Sakai's heart thumps hard. This is it, he whispers. The attack from above. Sakai pushes the nose downward slightly, aiming for the lead bomber. He knows the tail guns are deadly. So he avoids the rear approach entirely. He angles in from above left, the weakest defensive quadrant. For the first time, he has the altitude advantage. A rare gift. He steadies his breathing, lines up the shot, feels the Zero shaking beneath him. He squeezes the trigger. His cannons bark fire. Tracer rounds pour downward. Bullets pepper the B-29's wing and midsection. Sakai sees pieces of metal fly off. A hit. He pulls into a roll to avoid the turret fire he knows is coming. He's fast. But the B-29's gunners are faster. A cluster of tracers streak past his canopy. The air around him hums with their heat. He dives into a spiral, crossing between two superfortresses. The sky explodes in a chaotic ballet of gunfire, sunlight, and silver wings. Inside the B-29, a different fight. In the lead bomber, tail gunner Owen Hale grips his triggers. Zero approaching from above. The crew snaps into action. Right turret tracking. Left turret tracking. Angle 20 degrees. Fire when clear. Hale sees Sakai's Zero flash past in a steep dive. He fires a burst. Tracers streak toward the Zero's tail. The Japanese fighter dodges with impossible speed. Hale mutters. These guys are acrobats. The turret gunners keep firing, but their target keeps slipping through impossible angles. The cockpit crew hears the chaos. Green calls back through the intercom. Keep him off our belly, that is all we ask. Back to Sakai. The narrow escape. Sakai feels the Zero rattle as stray bullets whistle past his right wing. A few strike the fuselage. He winces. So, the fortress fights back. He pulls into a steep climb, using the last of his speed to rise above the formation again. But the B-29s are already adjusting. Turrets track him. The formation tightens. Gunfire arcs across the sky. He tries another dive. More tracers. More cannon bursts. More turbulence. The air becomes a cage of bullets. Behind him, other Japanese fighters attempt similar strikes. Some score hits. Others are ripped apart by defensive fire. One Zero explodes in a bright flash. Another spirals downward, flaming, crew bailing out. Sakai clenches his teeth. The B-29s aren't just bombers. They are fortresses with teeth. The moment the sky decides, Sakai lines up for one last attack. He dives. The Zero picks up speed, He feels gravity crush his chest. The bomber grows larger in his gun sight, nearly there. Almost. Then a burst of tailgun fire tears into his left wing. Metal screams. The Zero lurches sideways. Sakai loses control for a moment, spinning wildly. The world becomes a blur of sky and silver. He fights the stick, fights the spin, fights the altitude. At the last second, he regains control. But the B-29 he targeted has already passed. The entire formation drifts away, untouchable again, heading toward Tokyo with nothing in their path. Sakai watches them go, breathing hard, shaking, frustrated, awestruck. He whispers the truth no Japanese pilot wants to admit. They own the sky. And as the B-29s begin their bombing run, Sakai turns his damaged Zero toward the rising smoke. He is alive. But he has learned the truth. Courage cannot defeat altitude. Skill cannot defeat armor. Pride cannot defeat technology. The Superfortress has changed the war. And Japan must now face a future where the sky belongs to someone else. Sakai limps his Zero back toward the mainland, the aircraft shaking from wing damage and engine stress. Smoke rises over Tokyo in thick black pillars. Entire districts burn. Roads are choked with fleeing civilians. Fire brigades are overwhelmed before they can even reach the flames. The B-29s have done their work. And the sky is quiet again. Too quiet. Sakai lowers his altitude. The temperature rises. The engine stops choking. The world becomes real once more. But nothing feels the same as before the climb. He knows what he saw. What every pilot on Japan's side saw. What every commander feared. A bomber that breaks the rules of war. A machine built from an industrial giant's full strength. A weapon Japan cannot match. He touches down hard on the runway, tires screeching. Mechanics rush toward him, pulling open the canopy. One asks, "Lieutenant, are you hurt?" He shakes his head slowly. No, just humbled. They help him down from the cockpit. His legs tremble when they hit the ground, not from injury, but from what he has realized. The fight in the thin air has shown him the limits of man and machine, and the near invincibility of the Superfortress. The briefing Japan didn't want. Hours later, Sakai sits in a dimly lit bunker with high-ranking officers. Maps lie scattered on the table. Red markers show burned cities. Black markers show expected next targets. The commander clears his throat. "Lieutenant Sakai, give your assessment." Sakai folds his hands. He speaks with the slow gravity of a man delivering bad news. The B-29 is not a bomber, it is a flying battleship. Murmurs ripple around the room. He continues. It flies too high for our interceptors. It carries too much armor. Its guns cover every approach. Its range allows it to strike anywhere. Its speed denies us second chances. An officer slams his fist on the table. We cannot surrender the skies. There must be a tactic. Sakai looks at him, expression steady. There is a tactic, but it is not an honorable one. The room goes silent. Ramming attacks, Sakai says softly. It may be the only way. Shocked whispers fill the bunker. The commander leans forward. Explain. Sakai's voice lowers. Approach from above or the side. Dive hard. And if guns cannot bring it down, collide with the tail assembly or control surfaces. Anything to make the giant fall. The commander closes his eyes. That is suicide. Sakai nods once. Yes. He rises from his chair. Honor means nothing if Japan burns. You asked for truth. That is the truth. The room stays silent long after he finishes. The fortress returns. Only a week later, more B-29s appear in the morning light. This time there are more of them. This time their altitude is higher. This time their formations are tighter. Sakai launches again, leading younger pilots who look to him for hope. But he knows the truth. Their aircraft cannot reach this high. Their bullets cannot pierce such armor. Their skill cannot overcome such engineering. Still he climbs. Still he tries. Still he pushes the Zero until it shakes apart. When the B-29s fly overhead, they unleash another wave of destruction upon industrial centers and rail yards. Sakai gets close enough to fire a burst at one bomber. His bullets bounce off its belly like pebbles against stone. The tail turret opens fire in response. Sakai dives away, smoke trailing from his engine. He watches as the superfortresses continue undamaged, sunlight glinting off their wings. And for the first time in his career, he feels completely powerless. The moment of full realization. Back on the ground, after limping home once more, Sakai kneels beside his damaged Zero. His hand rests on the fuselage like he's comforting an injured friend. A young pilot approaches him. "Lieutenant, can we defeat them?" Sakai looks at the burning horizon where the B-29s disappeared. Then he answers quietly, "No, not in the sky." The pilot trembles. "Then what do we do?" Sakai stands slowly, exhaustion weighing on every movement. "We endure," he says, "and hope the war ends before Japan is burned to ash." The pilot looks down. Sakai adds, "The B-29 is not just a bomber. It is a message. America is telling us that the sky no longer belongs to us." He stares upward at the empty air where the giants passed. "We mocked them. We said they were clumsy, slow, weak." He shakes his head. "We were wrong." The legacy of the encounter. Over the next months, Sakai and his fellow pilots continue to scramble. They continue to climb. They continue to try. Some never return. Others ram B-29s in desperate sacrifice. A few manage to land glancing blows. But the outcome never changes. The Superfortress keeps coming. Higher. Heavier. More confident. By the time the war ends, every Japanese pilot understands what Sakai learned the first day he met the B-29. You cannot intimidate a machine that redefines war. You cannot outfly a design built for another altitude. You cannot outshoot a fortress. The B-29 showed Japan a future it could not reach. And it taught Sakai a lesson that stayed with him for life. Mocking an enemy tells you nothing. Meeting them in battle tells you everything.